Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about the Capricorn new moon, which is occurring on or around January 18th, 2026, depending on where it is in the world that you are located. And as usual, there's going to be some sounds in the background as I'm recording this video. I swear it's like everyone in my house gets louder when I'm getting ready to do a video. It just is what it is, you know what I mean? So it's great training as far as being able to concentrate and do these videos because we have so much distraction going on in the world around us right now, so much chaos, so much that is vying for our attention. So we really have to perfect the art of being able to focus, being able to be present, and being able to essentially tune out the external so that we can connect more with our internal world. I am setting, as always, that intention for my words to be led by the highest, most purely benevolent beings of love light, by my own beautiful highest self, my highest, most benevolent self. Asking that we receive all of the information, all of the healing, everything that we need at this time to navigate this gorgeous new moon. Now, this new moon is going to be a continuation, in a sense, of the energies that we felt with the Cancer full moon on the 3rd of this month, being that we have a lot of similar alignments going on. Now, our stellium in Capricorn has moved a bit deeper into the sign of Capricorn. So as we experience this new moon, we're going to be experiencing that at 28 degrees of Capricorn, which is actually interesting. No, 27 degrees of Capricorn is the United States' Pluto placement. So that was when our Pluto return was when Pluto returned to 27 Capricorn. For some reason, something about that feels significant. There's a reason that that's coming into my awareness right now. So 1 degree aware of from where this new moon is happening. And Pluto currently, as I'm recording this as of the new moon, being at 3 degrees of Aquarius. In this brand new energy, we talked a lot over the years about Pluto in Capricorn, breaking down those systems of authority, teaching us how to become our own authority, really stripping power away from those who have deemed themselves to be unworthy to wield that power. But how do we do that? We have to take our own power back in order to do that. And we talked a lot with this Pluto and Capricorn energy of how so many people give away their power because it's easier, right? It's kind of like the energy of passing the buck. I don't want to be responsible for this. So even though you're doing a horrible job managing this, I'm going to let you be responsible because, like, essentially it's just too much. Right. So it's like taking that responsibility back. Remember, Capricorn, Saturn, responsibility, commitment, integrity, taking responsibility for our own lives, for our own creations, for our own world, and what our collective consciousness has created through turning a blind eye, essentially, through not being willing to put in the work ourselves. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is where we really begin like the final level of the breakdown of those systems and the building up, the beginnings of the building up of the new systems, right? Aquarius, the Aquarius Leo axis represents this energy of leadership. And so with Leo energy, it's very much the ruler, the sovereign, right? The one that makes decisions for the many. When we move into Aquarius energy, it's about the many making the decisions. It's about the power being returned to the hands of the people. So this is the energy of what we have going on, one of the many energies with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So I think this is just an interesting synastry. Technically, Pluto is loosely conjunct this new moon because they're within so many degrees of each other, right? My math, it's 5 or 6 degrees that they're within during this. So it's really interesting to see Pluto involved in this. We've got the asteroid Astrea, we've got Mercury, we've got Mars, we've got Juno. So a lot of powerful energy. And I honestly meant to delve a little deeper because I haven't gone too super deep into all of the dwarf planets and asteroids and all of that. I'm still sort of beginning to work with those. So Astrea, yes, goddess of justice, purity, and innocence, often linked to Virgo and Libra energies, fairness, truth, the return of a utopian golden age. Okay, that's what I knew it had something to do with these new earth energies. So Astrea there, conjunct this new moon, really brings through those energies we were just talking about with Pluto and Aquarius, those energies, those themes of justice, of returning the power to the people. It really emphasizes that energy and brings a strong sort of, I almost read a strong, subtle influence, but can you be strong and subtle at the same time? Perhaps, right? Uh, but it gives a flavor to this energy, all right? Mercury and Mars here as well at 26 degrees. So just a couple degrees away, still very, very strongly really creating the stellium here within the sign of Capricorn, being those couple degrees away. So we're working with our masculine energy. We're working with our mental energy. There's a lot of sense of self. And I'm feeling this powerful energy of really getting this deeper sense of what it is that we stand for, what it is that we believe, what is right, fair, and just, and people really wanting to stand up for that. And we've seen a lot going on, not just in the US, but all over the world. There's revolutions happening all over the world right now. All right, this is the energy. Okay. And people are protesting so many different things. Some of it has to do with their government. Some of it has to do with things their government are doing, such as attempting to enact the digital ID, where all of the information is kept in this essentially like this digital wallet. And eventually, like the goal for that is to have all of our assets tokenized in these wallets as well. So all of that can be seized and frozen at a moment's notice is like the real reason behind that, right? They say it's for expediency, efficiency, all of the convenience, right? Convenience is how they market anything that's bad for us. If we look at everything that's convenient, right? Plastics, look at what that's done to the environment. You could just think of so many things, fast food. Convenient doesn't always mean better, and it doesn't always mean best for us. In fact, it often means the opposite. All right. So that's just one thing here. The US has not enacted this yet. Right? This is one of the master plans for all countries, but we are on a bit of a different trajectory at this particular moment in time. In fact, as the legislation for the stable coins and the crypto continues to move through Congress and be debated in Congress, there's a real push against what's called CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, which is essentially the backbone of the digital money aspect of control of this whole system with the digital IDs. So it's really interesting to see how, at least at this period in time, we are not aligning with that energy. And hopefully these protests around the world will prevent other countries from being able to enact this upon their citizens as well. China does this. This is where we see the social credit system, all of this just horrific stuff that goes on with that. But that's just a little tangent there. Anyone who's familiar, we go on these tangents sometimes. Thank you for bearing with me. It's really important stuff to understand that's happening, because this is stuff that's not being talked about so much, right? It's the sensational headlines that are getting all the press, so to speak, right? All the attention on social media. We see all the polarization. We see these events, and I don't want to get too deeply into, because I know there's such emotionally charged issues, but we'll say there's a lot of very emotionally charged. There are many emotional charged issues coming to a head in the United States as well as other countries right now. And if we can try to cultivate an energy of compassionate detachment and really view it through the lens of the astrology, view it through the lens of the process of ascension, right? We talk about all the time how polarity has to increase to an astronomical amount before that energy essentially implodes and we begin to move back toward unity. And we're at that point, we're at that near combustion point right now. So it's really interesting to see that, to just hold everyone with love and compassion. And I think we are going to continue to see more activism in the United States, in other countries around this time of this new moon, because of this energy with Astrea here as well, with this connection to Pluto in Aquarius. We also have a loose connection with Jupiter. During that full moon, we had Jupiter very active. Now Jupiter is in less of an opposition. The planets have the key planets here, Sun, Moon, Astrea, excuse me, even Mars and Mercury, sorry, to a certain extent, have kind of moved on. Jupiter is still at 18 degrees of Cancer. So we're not feeling that opposition as tightly, and therefore that T-square with Chiron and Eris in Aries, but it is still present. So that is still going to be creating that higher level of tension here. This is also where those wounds are coming up, and some of these ideals are really being put to the test. What does this really mean, right? I believe this, but what does that mean? And how does that actually get applied, right? Because Capricorn energy here is very much about the application of things, right? Capricorn ruled by Saturn. How do I apply this? How do I live my values and my ideals? And can I recognize where perhaps my own wounding is blinding me toward an ability to be more discerning, is perhaps blocking me from an ability to see something completely clearly? So this energy is honestly like amplified, but in a positive way, I think, by the fact that we have here a alignment that Molly McCord refers to as a cradle going on here, which is essentially beautiful, benevolent trines and sextiles creating a whole bunch of planets, or connecting a whole bunch of planets here. And I will put up the chart so that you guys can see on the screen what I'm talking about here as I'm discussing this. You're going to look at the purple lines. So we have the sun and the moon and that gorgeous stellium in Capricorn connecting in a sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, who is connected in a sextile to Uranus in Taurus and Sedna in Gemini. And then we also have on the other side, we have a gorgeous trine here being made by Uranus to this stellium in Capricorn, and also by Neptune and Saturn to Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio, and Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio in a sextile to the stellium in Capricorn. So with all of these pleasant aspects here, there's essentially this beautiful connection that is facilitating healing, that is allowing all these planets and all these sort of somewhat conflicting energies that sometimes they're not really conflicting, right? Because they're in trines and sextiles to each other. But these energies that are bringing up different aspects of our psyche, different aspects of our emotional nature, different aspects of our world and our experience, our way of experiencing our reality, working synergistically together to bring harmony. All right, so harmonizing some of these energies here, these energies of integrity, these desires for justice, these desires really with Black Moon Lilith here. It's like that rooting for the underdog. Also our own, the aspects of our own nature that we have perhaps been unable to quite accept or love or integrate into the whole. There's a beautiful energy of integration here, where we're able to integrate with that Chiron energy. It's like some of those wounds. Oh, Chiron's not involved in this cradle, but I still feel Chiron. I mean, he is being activated in a different aspect here, but like we don't need Chiron in order to be looking at our wounds, right? all of our the planets can show some area of wounding and some area where we're having an opportunity or receiving an invitation to grow. It was 1333 on the timer when I looked up as I was saying that. So there's this beautiful harmonization energy here, right? It's where we're able to, all right, this is the way that Spirit's bringing it through, to take these diverse areas of our own personality, our own psyche, as well as our own life experience and our different perspectives on the world, and kind of like unify them, kind of bring them together. This is where the pieces of the puzzle start feeling like they fit. Where before we just had a random piece here and a random piece there, and we didn't really know how they went together. It's like something is becoming more clear. The pieces of this puzzle are coming together. So this is hopefully, even though it is going to be charging us up, right? Really getting like people's fire lit in a certain sense. Hopefully there is an energy here that allows people to come to a consensus, that allows people to view situations and events and principles and ideologies in a way that gives space for other people's as well. This is the ultimate goal. It was really interesting. So And it's taken me a really long time to complete the official training for the Galactic Astrology course that I'm taking. Just because of everything else I have going on, you know, I have there's been a lot, you know, especially dealing with, you know, mental health stuff on top of that, and the winter blues and doldrums and all of that, and just like figuring out how to budget time, how to take care of mind, body, and spirit simultaneously, as well as child, right? So it's taken me a while, but it was interesting. I was reading about the different densities and dimensions today, and it's interesting because everybody has a slightly different skew on how they define it and even how many. I resonate most strongly with the 12, 13 dimensions, the 13th being the one that encompasses all. But I think there's an infinite number of dimensions. This is just the ones that our brains can conceptualize right now. And so it was interesting. It felt sort of like astrology in a sense, where it was like, we're looking at the dimensions as like the houses, if we were looking at an astrology chart, like where something is taking place, and the densities as the level of consciousness each individual is embodying within that certain dimension, and how each dimension can house a certain sort of variety of different levels of density within it, right? So different levels of consciousness. And we see this on this planet right now, right? We have multiple levels of consciousness existing within this third density. We are beginning to bleed, many of us, into the fourth density here. And so the third density is strongly, in what I was reading and studying today, strongly characterized by polarity, right? By this individualistic energy, the illusion of separation, and the choices that we make within that evolution, or well, yes, it is an evolution, but within that illusion of separation, right? And how we begin to choose that path, service to others versus service to self, and everything that happens along that journey, and that deep, deep level of contrast that polarity provides in order to facilitate the soul growth. And now as we move in, and so that's represented by solar plexus energy. As we move into the heart chakra, the 4D energy, this is characterized by compassion. It's characterized by empathy, right? Those heart-centered energies, and beginning to be able to reduce the friction of that contrast of polarity and polarization through that lens of compassion and that lens of empathy. And then as the 5D, we move into more of an energy of neutrality, where there's a higher wisdom that emerges, and we're able to begin really moving beyond the concept of polarity. And then and the 6D, how that really truly begins to dissolve. But the 5D, the 4D is where you bring in the compassion, you bring in that ability to begin to dissolve this energy, which is what I'm feeling from this cradle aspect with this new moon here. And then how from that compassion, you begin to be able to see things from a more neutral perspective. You begin to be able to recognize multiple truths at once, and honor other people's truth, and honor other people's journey as another leg of your own journey, as this one ultimate cosmic being that we are, broken down to our purest form, right? So I love sort of the energies here, right? As I'm exploring that and applying it to what I see happening within the ascension process right now, like we said earlier, we're moving, that crescendo is building to that breaking point where the polarity essentially gets so intense that it implodes upon itself. And maybe we're going to see more of that with the Neptune-Saturn conjunction. And over the next few years, I really feel is where this implosion is really going to begin. 2027, maybe 2028 being a marker in that. 2029 even. Buckle up, buttercup, as we say. All right, so let's see, what else do we want to say about this? So this is also, it's not just about like our values, our ideals, our goals as well, right? Capricorn is very goal oriented, right? It's also about, not just in a collective sense, but in an individual sense, really getting to know ourselves on a deeper level, getting to accept ourselves on a deeper level. And as we know ourselves, as we allow ourselves the grace to know ourselves, right? And how do we do that? What do I mean by that? I mean, like when we judge certain aspects of ourselves, and if you want to figure out where you judge yourself the most harshly, look at where you judge others the most harshly. All right, that is one way to kind of figure this out. Not the only way, but that is one way, right, to begin to getting an inkling of this. So the ways that when we judge ourselves super harshly, we essentially prevent that aspect of ourselves from being integrated. And there's a disconnect that's created where oh crap, now I'm going to forget because I started trying to explain, and you know how my brain is like, I love you all so much. What was the point that I was making there? Why was that coming through? It was something about this energy of, right, accepting ourselves. To know ourselves. Okay, there we go. So in order to truly know ourselves, we can't be hiding or ignoring certain aspects of ourselves that we're ashamed of, right? We have to bring that to light. To truly know ourselves, we must know all of ourselves. And to feel comfortable knowing all of ourselves, we must accept the parts of ourselves that make us uncomfortable. And so that's a big part of the harmonization that I'm feeling on an individual level for us with this new moon, is that ability to know ourselves, to accept ourselves to the degree that we're able to truly know ourselves. And as we come to truly know ourselves, our path becomes more clear. Our morals, our ideals, our values, what matters to us. We talk about with Capricorn 10th house energy a lot, right? The mark we want to leave on the world, the legacy we wish to embody and imbue to the world, if that makes sense. Oh. That's what becomes revealed. That's what is revealed. My grammar right now is leaves a bit to be desired, but you guys know what I'm trying to say here. As we continue to strip away what we are not and to allow ourselves to embody more of what we are, our soul song becomes louder, right? Meaning our true frequency, our true essence. And from that place, everything becomes clear. Everything that we're confused about, the path that we don't know, that wow, I'm having trouble with my words right now, you all. The path becomes more clear. Our purpose becomes more clear if we're confused here, if we're not knowing what steps to take, if we're still struggling with that existential question of like, why am I here? All those questions are answered when we allow our true frequency to vibrate without judgment, without shame, without fear. So that's a beautiful energy that I'm feeling coming through with this new moon as well. So I want to pull some cards here, trying to feel into what I want. I actually do. I want the Intuit Tarot here. What else can you tell us about this new moon in Capricorn? This is also on a more mundane level, where it is that we are setting goals for ourselves. We probably already began. The full moon, there was a bigger energy of releasing, right? A very emotional, right? Cancer, 1 degree away from the star Sirius. So there's a lot of healing that came from like a deep emotional clearing. And we talked about that as like an energetic reset or recalibration as well. So we were beginning to ponder these things as we had that opposition to this stellium in Capricorn. And then after the full moon, we had the Sun, Venus, Mars making all of their conjunctions. And now they're still in this stellium together. Venus has moved on to Aquarius. I didn't mention that before. So Venus is actually, she's pretty much conjunct Pluto here. She's at 1 degree of Aquarius. So that's another just gorgeous energy, as Venus is receiving an initiation, an activation, a transformation from Pluto. And she's giving us more to think about here. She got more. She had that reset, that new start with her connection with Mars, that harmonization with the masculine, right? With her connection with the sun, her Venus star point in Capricorn. So she's got some priorities. She's got some focus. And now she's moving on to Pluto, and she's getting that sense of empowerment. She's getting that boost that Pluto's energy provides. And perhaps there is some type of shadow that's being revealed somewhere where she's learning more about how to be authentically herself, how to stand in her power, how to create from this sense of individuality, but also like her greater desires and goals when it comes to the collective and her role within that process. So she's got a lot going on, right? And we have these other planets still really connecting, the moon coming in here where it was in an opposition to the sun, Mars. And I think Mercury was very loosely in that stellium, kind of on the edges. I think during the full moon, he was at like 2 degrees of Capricorn. So now Mercury is more squarely in the mix as well. So those priorities are deepening. Our commitment, whatever it is that we discovered or perhaps rediscovered was important to us. Now we're really setting that trajectory of like, this is what I want. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what matters to me. This is what I'm willing to do to get it. And this is what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. These are the steps that I can take to get there, essentially, is one more thing that this new moon can be bringing through for people. And I've been channeling a lot about opportunities coming through. So I think this is one of those moments where we begin to see those. I'm really feeling the Jupiter when it completes its retrograde as well and moves out of his shadow period there. And I'm not going to stop this and try to look up when that is. Google will tell you. I can't remember when Jupiter gets out of his shadow period. And stations direct. I can look that up for everyone real quick. When does Jupiter station direct? Jupiter direct. T26. All right. March 11th is what I'm getting. So 3/11. Yeah, now I'm remembering. Right? Because the 11/11, Jupiter stationed retrograde on the 11/11 and stations direct on the 3/11. And then from there, we're going to move forward again. And the shadow period will, it might say, sometimes this says when the shadow period completes. No, Jupiter enters Leo on the June 29th. That is showing up here. That's going to be fun. I'm feeling something really, I like the energies of Jupiter and Leo. I think that's going to be good for boldness. It's going to be good for taking those actions, that expansion of the self-confidence, expansion of self-love, self-connection. Yeah, I'm really feeling that force. It's going to be a very extravagant energy as we move into Jupiter in Leo there. And so for the Lionsgate, we're going to have Jupiter and Leo. I love that. I'd be interested to see where in Leo Jupiter is during the 8/8 portal. We're not going to look that up right now, but I am going to see if I can get the shadow period here. Normally I would edit this stuff out, but honestly, I just want to get this video out after I make it. So I'm probably just going to leave all this stuff in here. It's like right now, perfectionism or anything close is just not an attainable goal. It's all about knowing your capabilities and working within those. All right. So we've got, it's going to take me too long. March 11th. Yes, we know that. Yeah. I'll let you guys know at some point. We'll get around to it. That's one thing where you can tell like what the more complex areas of life are, because you see the ones where AI still fucks up all the time, and astrology is one of them. Like if you're looking for transits and information, you can go wrong real quick trying to get AI to figure that stuff out for you. So we have the Four of Wands coming out. And this is Venus and Aries here. I love that as our first card here. So this is community support, reunion, homecoming celebrations. Lover returns is sticking out to me. So some people, there may be love coming back around. There may be connections. There's a video. I'm going to upload it to the minis channel. I just did it for TikTok. And I think that it touched on some of these energies. And there may have been another reading recently. Maybe it was one of the longer ones that I posted for you guys where some of that energy was coming through too. So love coming back around. If you've been feeling isolated with this Four of Wands, I'm feeling more than that. Just this general energy of feeling more connected, more community, more reasons to celebrate coming through here. else do we have? All right. And we have the winter solstice on the bottom of the deck. Right, so that's the Capricorn solstice. That's when at least in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice, when we reach that 0 degree, the sun hits 0 degrees of Capricorn, first enters the sign of Capricorn. So that happened on the 21st, and that was also the 1221 gateway. So it was a big, big energy this year. So there's something here about that solstice that's going to be relevant for some here. Like something, it's like what I'm feeling is a completion that's really coming not even coming full circle. That's not, I'm trying to, here we go again. A completion of an energy that you began completing during the winter solstice. There we go. When's Mercury going into retrograde again, you guys? Mercury's going to be retrograde in all water signs this year too. So it's going to be interesting. A lot of watery energy. Communication is going to be very emotional. This is going to be a really interesting energy to start 2026 with all the revolutionary energy going on with our minds in that watery state, that emotional state, that more subconscious state. But yeah, so let me try to break this down the way that it's coming through in a way that makes more sense. We're completing a 9-year right now. We just began a 1 year. But on this winter solstice, that was a big turning point in those energies, but there may be something that hasn't fully completed. You were in those moments of completion during that 1221 gateway. Remember, here we go, Spirit's bringing it through. Like we completed a whole effing timeline with the winter solstice, right? That was a big initiatory point in that timeline split, that timeline jump. I think Saturn and Neptune conjunct on the 20th of February is going to be another big point within that energy. February, on the 13th, we've got Saturn returning to Aries on the 13th of February. On the 26th of this month, we have Neptune returning to Aries. And then they're meeting at that 0 degree. They're both going to be at 0 degrees of Aries on the 20th of February, right? So that is another big sort of activation point, I guess you would say, within this new timeline energy. But the winter solstice, that's when we really made the shift, right? So something that is solidifying as you closed out that old timeline that may have been, it's kind of like there were still some moving pieces, sort of like things shifted, but they hadn't completely settled yet. So with this new moon, there's like a settling of that energy. There's whatever those loose ends were that needed to be tied up. That's the energy of what's coming through here. We have death in reverse. So this is an internal change. This is regeneration, clearing and purging. I know we're all tired of hearing clearing and purging at this point, right? But there's going to be more of that. I mean, we're going to be continually clearing and purging as we move through this final ascension window, right? From now until 2034. With the 8 of Swords here, there's like an energy of, this is where we're learning this energy of where is it that I have become my own worst enemy, right? Where is it that I have felt paralyzed, that I have felt stuck? Because all the energy, all the astrology of 2026 is about getting us unstuck. And I've been feeling this very much, like this desire to move forward, this like kind of like solemn sense of commitment of being like, I'm not just going to lay down and die, right? Metaphorically speaking, except in the way that's productive, right? But like, I'm not going to just give up. You know, I'm going to pull myself up and out of this, whatever this is, this depression, this lethargy, this falling back into these old habits and old patterns, this self-doubt, self-criticism, whatever it is. It's like enough is enough. That's the energy here. And so there's this, for some, there's like a final purge of some of this energy. But for a lot of people, the full moon in Cancer was that giant purge. And now it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Like, we're looking at this card. It's like, I'm going to take the blindfold off because my hands aren't tied, right? And there's a lighthouse right behind her. If she gets quiet, if she gets out of her own head, out of her own shit, we could say, for long enough, she would be able to sense that lighthouse behind her. And that there's actually light everywhere. She's only in darkness because of the blindfold that she can easily remove. So this is the time when we remove the blindfold. Yeah, and then I cut the deck to manifest your dreams, Three of Wands. This energy here and the choices that we make, that we follow up by actions that we take, is what brings in these oh, now we got the High Priestess here. What brings in these manifestations, these opportunities, all the good stuff that I've been reading about, right, in the collective readings. But we have to be the one to do it. We have to. It's like that energy of like grabbing the world by the balls is really what it feels like here. You are your own worst enemy. All the external enemies that we perceive are really only reflections of our own internal struggle. Are you ready to release that energy? Are you ready to stop fighting yourself? To stop feeling, to let go of this paradigm, right, that says that you're at war with the world around you? Can you look at the world, at the universe, as your partner, as opposed to your adversary? That's energy, not your savior. All right, and this is something that we're going to have to look out for as we move into Neptune and Aries, because it is the energy of the charismatic leader, right? But the core of the Aries energy is, I am the leader. I am the one who's here to save myself, right? It's a very individualistic in the sense of like our individual empowerment. But there will be some very charismatic people that come up that have that vibe, that energy that draws people to them, that activates people. And so we want to make sure that like we're allowing ourselves to be inspired, because there will be many benevolent, inspirational figures that begin to come more to the forefront with Neptune and Aries. But there's also going to be those who are capitalizing upon that energy in order to mislead people, right? Like this is the perfect recipe when we're talking about the energy of the Antichrist, right? With Neptune and Aries here. But it's also, Neptune and Aries gives us the ability to see through that if we choose to find our own our own spiritual empowerment instead of just following another leader. And we know, I think we've talked about this a little bit. In my opinion, the Antichrist is more of an energy. It's the whole beast system, we could call it, right? The whole false matrix system. It's the AI. It's the all of that stuff. That is the Antichrist. It's a consciousness. It's that consciousness of fear, of domination, of control, of dependency, of giving away our power. Aren't we tired of doing that by now? All right, so the High Priestess here, final sort of thought here, is all about, this is secrets and missing information with the High Priestess in reverse here in this deck. Interesting. Somebody has a secret here. So there may be secrets revealed during this new moon. Or I'm feeling for some people, it's more like a recognition that there's something that you're not being told. And this could be a collective energy, right? As more of the collective starts being like realizing that they're being lied to, right? This is also an end of the disconnection from self that the High Priestess in reverse can represent. Coming into deeper communion with our own higher selves and moving towards embodying this King of Cups energy, emotional mastery, emotional discipline, compassion, intuition, self-awareness. This is an opportunity with this new moon to step into a deeper level of self-acceptance and self-awareness, just like we were talking about earlier. And I love it when the reading comes full circle, right? That's when it lets me know that it's time to wrap it up. So without further ado, I'm going to end this session today. I love you all deeply, infinitely. I will be doing a live stream again here at some point in the future. It's still just a lot of technical mumbo jumbo, and honestly, like, whatever. You guys know it's been a little bit of a struggle. I want to get it so that like the live stream's actually working properly, and it's not like when I try to watch the replays of the live streams because of the internet connection and the way it is right now where I'm live streaming from, it's terrible. I was trying to think of a word worse than terrible, like abhorrent. Like it truly disturbs me how patchy and grainy and just like, you know, we all deserve better than that. So I am figuring out that situation slowly and surely. I was going to, I think I'm pretty much there. And I was going to try a live stream after recording this video, but honestly, I feel like I'm just going to put this out. So you're probably watching this right now as a live premiere. And we're gonna go at it again next week, or maybe an evening this week. Who knows? We shall see, right? More will be revealed. But I love you guys so much. You're so beautiful. Thank you for being with me. If you haven't liked this video yet, go ahead and do that if you wouldn't mind. Drop a comment below. Let me know how you're feeling these energies as we continue moving through this wonderful, wild, wacky month of January. Much love.